Hi there, my brilliant scientists. Today we're going to talk about weather. So, have you ever stopped to think how much weather affects your life? I know for me, it affects my life daily. So, why don't you take a minute and pause this video and look out your window. And then think about, what am I seeing as far as the weather goes today? Is it sunny, rainy, windy, snowing, or something else? So take a moment and do that. Here for me, it's nice and sunny. Okay, and there's actually no clouds in the sky. So it's not even cloudy at all. So let's talk about what it means to be sunny. When the weather is sunny outside, that means that we are getting energy from the sun's rays, and they're coming down and it's warming up us, the ground, water, and the air. Now, that's a lot to warm up. And if you want to put it into perspective or have an example about how the sun does this, think about if you've been swimming somewhere, maybe a lake or at the beach or somewhere where there's some water that is not covered by anything. It's just open water, and then there's some water covered by some shadows from some trees or something. Now, if you swim in the water not covered by anything, you know it's a lot warmer, typically, than the water that's covered by shadows from trees or buildings or something else. Okay? And that's because the shadows block the sun's rays, and that's why it feels a lot colder when you're standing in a shady area than it does if you're standing in a brightly lit area where the sun can reach you. Okay, so we've got sunny. What's another one we can talk about? What about cloudy? Okay, cloudy weather has, of course, clouds in the sky, and there are lots of different clouds out there. There are cumulus, which are big puffy clouds. There's cumulonimbus, which are what we know as thunder clouds. So if you see those in the sky, it's a good idea to go ahead and go back inside. Okay, we have stratus, which are stretched out, way stretched out like that. Okay, and it looks kind of like there's a big gray or white blanket across the sky. Those are stratus clouds. And then cirrus clouds are the little wispy ones. They look like little wisps of cotton candy. So that's just a little bit of facts on clouds. And clouds are what make our precipitation. Okay, and precipitation is what falls from clouds. So that can be rain, it can be hail, it can be snow. There are so many different types of precipitation. But those are our three main ones. Okay, and the most common one we experience in our area is probably rain. Rain happens when water evaporates from the bodies of water, whether that be an ocean or a lake or even a swimming pool or puddle, and it goes up into the sky, and then it cools down and condenses into a cloud. Okay, and then after it cools, it turns back to a liquid. But we don't really need to talk about all that right now. Just so you know, rain is caused by the water in clouds cooling down and falling back into the earth. And snow is when we have even colder precipitation. So that's when it's below or at freezing, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. And then the precipitation comes down as snow or even ice, which can be kind of dangerous if you're out and about. But if you're at home and having fun in the snow, that's a good time to get out and enjoy that kind of precipitation. You can build snowmen and have snowball fights or make snow angels. It can be a lot of fun. And then of course there's windy. And wind can be light, you know, just a nice breeze, or it can be kind of heavy, which if it's moderate to heavy or kind of a medium wind, then that's the kind of wind you want to fly your kites in, or do stuff like that, because the wind's going to be able to carry your kite up in the air, and that'll be a lot of fun. But sometimes the wind gets really, really strong and can form really dangerous storms like tornadoes, which form funnel clouds and come down to the earth and can create really big destructive storms where they can rip apart farms and houses and stuff. So those can be scary. If you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, that's a tornado, which is a wind event. Okay, and a wind plays a really big part in hurricanes. You'll see hurricanes on the coast or near the beach. And that's because the hurricane is a bunch of the water off the ocean comes up, evaporates, and forms this big storm, which is creating a circular motion, okay? And the wind in combination with that can be really destructive and can cause homes to flood and homes to break down. And so hurricanes can be super dangerous, and we're pretty lucky not to live in an area where there are hurricanes. So there are several different tools that scientists use to measure weather, okay? So one that you might be most familiar with are thermometers. So this weather tool is called a thermometer, okay? And when you think of thermometer, you probably think of what your parent or guardian uses to check your temperature when you're sick, and it's not all that different, except this kind of thermometer is used to check the temperature outside or even inside your home, but not inside your body. Okay, and there are two measurements. There's Fahrenheit and Celsius. Okay, so you can see the little F with the degree, which is for Fahrenheit, on the bottom left, and the little C with the degree for Celsius on the bottom right. And you can tell how hot or cold it is outside using this. When you make your thermometer, you can choose to place it outside if you want, to measure how warm it is outside that day or cold it is, or if you don't have a chance to go outside, or your parents or guardian really would prefer you not, then you can stick your thermometer inside your refrigerator or your freezer overnight and kind of look and see what happens. And then you can stick it into some pretty warm water with an adult supervision. About your thermometer is the way it's different than most thermometers is it doesn't have little tick marks where you can tell the exact temperature that it is outside or inside or wherever you're measuring, which can be a little tricky, so you can't rely on it totally, but it's a good way to tell, okay, is it warmer than it was in this place or on this day, or is it colder, or is it about the same? Okay, so that's what we're using our thermometers we make for. This next tool is called an anemometer, and it's used to tell how fast the wind is moving, or the wind speed. And you put it outside and it twirls around, and the wind goes in those cups and it twirls around, and you can tell how fast the wind is outside. Another cool weather tool is a wind vane, and that helps you tell what direction the wind is coming from, which you can see that little arrow up there, and it points to the direction the wind's coming from, and that works by the wind spinning around by its little tail there. And you can see it has a north, south, east, and west, which we know from our social studies lesson, to tell which direction that wind is coming from. Last weather tool we'll talk about is a rain gauge. And rain gauges are used to measure how much rainfall you get or precipitation you get. So if you have a rainy day, it's good to have a rain gauge to put outside so you can tell how much it's rained over the day, or you can even do it over the week. And some people do it over the month. So you can see it has a little ruler there so you can tell how much it has rained. Okay, scientists, now that you know about different types of weather and different tools you can use to measure this kind of weather, you're going to record the weather over the course of the next week, okay? And you just look outside and say what it looks like, and also there will be a little vocabulary word bank. And you can tell, okay, if I wanted to measure the wind speed, I would use an anemometer. If I wanted to measure the precipitation, I'd use a rain gauge, and things like that. And so when we're using this, we're measuring changes that happen over a short period of time. But of course, when we're talking about seasons, it's a longer period of time, and we can expect different kinds of weather during different seasons. So in the summer, it'll be very warm, maybe a lot of rain, and then in the winter, it'll be really cold, and we might even get some snow, right? So now you know a lot more about weather, and I want to see how you apply it. So go ahead and start charting or start marking down the weather that you see over the next week, each day, okay? And don't forget to use those vocabulary terms too. And then of course you get to go ahead and make your very own thermometer to test out like we talked about earlier. So go and have fun and have a wonderful day. Bye.